you're an entrepreneur or you're starting a new business or you want to start a new business and you've put some work into it, there's an inevitable hurdle that you have to come across. And that's the point at which you need to turn action into results. Like at some point, as you're building out this idea, starting your company, making progress, you need to be able to turn your action and effort into results. Like at some point, the business has to become profitable. And I think a lot of times people hit this first hurdle that sometimes can derail them. At first, figuring out, okay, number one, what is the most critical, highest ROI task that you need to do in order to generate revenue? So like, let's use real estate, for example. Like if you want to become a real estate agent or you want to start a company that's selling a product or service, the number one activity that you need to do is get in front of more customers, whether that's cold calling, marketing. Prospecting is your number one activity. How do you get in front of more people? And a lot of times people know that answer, but they find themselves not actually completing the task. And it's a question of, is that a discipline thing or is that a systems problem? And I think fundamentally, the question you have to ask yourself is like, most entrepreneurs don't actually have a problem with discipline. Like people who start their own business, are in sales, usually have no problem doing the work. Like that's why you're in the position you're in. You don't mind putting in the hours. And like within your day, you might have 10, 12, 15 hours of work that you've set aside to accomplish your objective. But like the question is, are you actually doing those highest ROI tasks? Here's what I mean. For example, if your goal on your calendar today was 1 hour of prospecting, well, you need to define what prospecting looks like. If it's cold calls, like, are you actually doing 1 whole hour of cold calls? Or are you spending 30 minutes like optimizing your call dialer or cleaning up your CRM and then doing 30 minutes of cold calls? But of those 30 minutes, maybe you only did 10 because you answered a few texts. So like in your head, you're completing the work. Like I had an hour of prospecting. I did an hour of prospect related work. That's not the same as doing 1 hour of complete focus, cold calling or dialing, emailing, whatever your prospecting method is. So you have to first clearly define the outcome in order to fine tune the process and make sure the work is actually helping you accomplish that. That fundamentally is a challenge that I think a lot of entrepreneurs face is they're busy and they attribute their busy time to actually completing the highest value task. But in reality, there's a lot of other work that slips in place of actually doing the thing. Like human nature is inevitably pushed to the path of least resistance. So if you don't like doing cold calls, like no one really likes getting on the phone and prospecting. It's a hard thing to do. But if your business is sales or sales oriented, that is the highest ROI. So most people will start that prospecting task and derail, like we were just talking about. So I want to give you a simple framework to help you break through of this redundant hamster wheel. And it's not perfect, but this is how I've gone about the process that's significantly helped me. And I think it's working backwards. So a simple exercise you can do is take a step back from your business, analyze where your previous sales have come from, or if you haven't had any sales yet, what does your ideal customer look like? And how are you going to get in touch with them? What lead channels are you using? Is it online marketing? Is it your website? Is it cold calls? Is it prospecting? Like you need to figure out what the best method of obtaining customers is for your industry. And then once you identify that specific channel, you then need to figure out what specific task do you need to do that you're best at, has the highest likelihood of achieving the outcome you're shooting for. Like if you want more sales, like what input do you need to create to get that task? If you're someone who's selling solar, like usually solar is door to door. Like you need to get appointments, get in the room and close deals. Like you need to be in that sales conversation. So then you need to then attribute that to the process. Like what does that ideal process look like to get this sale? If it's cold calling, that means finding qualified prospects, getting on the phone and proving your value to overcome their objectives, to get them in a position where they see enough value in your product to sign up for your service. If you're going to do that, then the core fundamental task you need to do in that example is get in front of more qualified leads and get on the phone. So you need dials, you need reps, which means you might spend an hour optimizing your lead funnel, right? We need to get people, qualified leads into our system. If you're on YouTube, that might mean there's a link at the end of your video that gets people actually into your sales funnel. Then think about it, optimize that process, right? Like what's your problem? You have leads, but they're not converting. So qualify the leads better. Like rework your process, change the questions on your script, lay out the exact process of the ideal situation and focus on your exact input and make that the task that you do every day consistently. Like for my business and loan origination, that's getting in front of realtors. So 1 hour a day should be specific towards getting in front of realtors. That task in and of itself is not enough to create an ideal outcome. You need to optimize further. What does that 1 hour look like? That might mean for me, 10 minutes of prospecting. I need to go online, figure out who are the realtors that are my top priority to get in front of that would have the highest likelihood of giving me the outcome I'm looking for, which is a continued business relationship. Once I've identified that list, how am I going to talk to them? Am I going to call them? Am I going to text them? What am I going to say? Not scripted, but what am I trying to get out of the conversation? Like I might only have a minute or two on the phone with them before they have to go, depending on when I call them, what the timing is. Like what is my outcome? What's my value proposition? So think through the full step, then create the action. So I'm going to identify my prospects. I'm going to qualify them. I'm going to plan my value proposition. So when I get them on the phone, I have a point of connection. Maybe it's a mutual acquaintance, some way of them becoming more of a warm contact. And I'm going to propose my value proposition to set up a follow-up engagement that provides them value. But that's part of this process, is not just saying I'm going to 1 hour of business generation. Like that task in and of itself on your calendar does nothing. Take it steps further, break it down by item of the highest value tasks for your business that create the most amount of revenue, and then work backwards to figure out what that exact process looks like to go out and get it. And then do that repeatedly. And that's where you really start to see more success. Like I've found in every business venture that I've been involved in, it's not a lack of doing work. Like people have no problem typically once you commit to the entrepreneurial lifestyle and you're fully invested in achieving your outcome. Work isn't usually the problem. People don't mind working. Like everyone knows an entrepreneur and they're like, why do you work so much? But what work are you actually doing? And is it the highest value you could possibly be doing? And create that perfect sales process, because usually the process becomes revealed as the problem, not the person. It's usually not the person isn't capable or the person isn't willing to put in the work or the effort. It's usually you don't have the right process. And I talked about this on a previous episode when it comes to people usually have leads, they just don't know how to manage them. And it's the same thing from this standpoint of allocating the work. Like take control of your time, be intentional, and set the ideal process and then put it on repeat and do it consistently. And then further optimize and then say, okay, well, once I talk to these people, I put them in my CRM. What does my follow-up cadence look like? What is my copywriting in those? Does this all make sense based on my messaging and the value I'm trying to portray? Like that all comes after, but nothing happens if you don't do the thing. Like do the first task that's the hardest, that gives you the highest likelihood of success and drives the most revenue. Hopefully you took something from today. I know it was a quick hitter, but I wanted to at least get this topic out there because it's something that I've become a lot more focused on, getting more intentional about the time I allocate towards the tasks that I know will move the needle of my business. But it all starts with laying out a clear plan with intention. And the objective has to be driving revenue. Like the most important task you should be focusing on, drive revenue.